All right, here we go. So let's get to the phones right now. Looks like more of the Giants, more of the same. Brian starts us off. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Mike. Sorry to hear you going, buddy.
That's all right.
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
name out for you.
What'd you say?
Obviously the Giants have to clean house.
Mm-hmm.
What about maybe trying to grab Scott Pioli as a GM?
I think it would be, for him, it would be a dream come true. He would love that job. I'm sure they're going to go through a search. I know internally Chris Mara would love to do it, but the Tisches are not comfortable with him being the general manager. And that's just the way it is. They're never going to be comfortable with him being the general manager. He can be in the organization, but he's never going to be the general manager. He has a say in the general manager, as obviously does John and as does Tisch. So I think they'll look for...
Is that because of his relationship with Bill?
No. It's because he's a Tisch. I mean, it's because he's a Mara. They don't want a Mara. They don't want John running the franchise and having him also having his brother as a general manager. They don't want that. So they don't think it's fair. They think it's the Tisches don't think it's the right move, and the Maras understand that. So although Chris would love to do it, it's just never going to happen. So and Chris is qualified to do it, but it's not going to happen because they're just not comfortable with it. So that's just the way it works out. With that being the case, there's a guy like Scott would. I'm telling you, he'd walk here for it. It'd be his dream. He grew up a Giant fan.
Right.
He would absolutely love it. I see you have a relationship with him because you're
got
from.
a great track
Well, you
record.
know him anyway, so you know him.
I do.
Well, I could see because you're from Washingtonville. That's why I see why you know him. I could tell because I know Scott very well, and I look and see Washingtonville, so you know him. So I understand that. But he would like the job. Another guy who will be on the list will be Dr. O'Brien's son, who's the number 2 guy now in Kyle O'Brien, who is in Detroit, is the number 2 guy in Detroit, is very highly regarded, who grew up in the Patriot system, was there for a decade, has gone to Jacksonville, has now gone to Detroit, is very well thought of. He's going to be on somebody's list now, short list this year. He'll be one of the candidates of the new wave of guys. He'll be one of the guys mentioned too. So those are possibilities. Guys that will be mentioned. I'm sure both those guys would be mentioned as a possibility when it happens. But remember, guys still have the job right now. Until they don't have the job, you'll have plenty of time to speculate when the jobs are open. They're not open yet. So until they're not, the McAdoo and Reese own the jobs. Although obviously they're going to need a lot of help to get them right now. And the thing that you take out of yesterday, Mara clearly felt his coach messed it up. He lost it in the translation. That's not the message he wanted sent to Eli. And not the message he wanted sent to the public was that they were benching Eli. That's not the message he wanted. He wanted it to be sent that we need to look at these guys so we know what we have if we're in a position to draft a young quarterback. That's what we need to do. And then we'll decide what our situation is next year. They were trying to be very delicate about it. But clearly the one thing John messed up was John thought Eli would buy into this part-time stuff, and he wouldn't. And he thought he would. Now, what they should have done is they should have gone to Eli and told him what their plan was. And if Eli didn't like the plan, they could either say, okay, we know Eli's going to be very disappointed and is going to be very unhappy. We can either back off and let him play the last 5 games. He's earned that. He's absolutely earned that right. Or we can just say, hey, we'll go and look at these guys and deal with the consequences. At least they would have had a better idea. They assumed Eli's reaction. They shouldn't have. They should have known what his reaction was going to be. Rick and Danbury, what's up, Rick?
Hey, Mike, if both Darnold and Rosen are in the draft, tell me if you would make this move. Would you trade Odell Beckham Jr. to the 49ers for the number 2 pick in the draft to keep anybody from jumping ahead of you?
Wait a second. I don't have to do that. If I'm the Giants, I'm going to be picking 3rd or 4th. Why would I have to trade Odell Beckham to get the 2nd pick? I can get the 2nd pick in a minute. I got the 4th pick. At worst, I got the 3rd or the 4th pick. Why can't I get the 2nd pick in a heartbeat? I don't have to give a Beckham to get the 2nd pick. I can get the 2nd pick without even doing that. I only have to move 2 slots. See, the Giants are going to be in great shape. Cleveland is picking 1. There's 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the draft. Cleveland's picking 1, and we're not even sure Cleveland's going to pick a quarterback. we know that barring something unforeseen, San Francisco's not going to pick a quarterback. Garoppolo's starting for them this week in Chicago. So we know that. So the Giants, who are going to be anywhere from most likely 3 to 5, a low would be 3. They could be as low as 2 if Garoppolo wins a couple of games. Or they could be as high as, say, 5. I don't think they get past 5 the way things are going right now. So they're going to be in a very advantageous position to get either to the 1 or the 2 spot if they want to go there. Conrad, Manhattan. What's up, Conrad?
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Big time Giant fan, obviously, and one of the things that I've noticed with the Giants in the past few years is that they've been devoid of true leadership other than Eli. So when you hear Eli in front of his locker, the guy is practically almost in tears, and you hear JPP and all these other guys around him in the locker room just joking and laughing. Like, you hit it right on the head yesterday. Like, that really, really bothered me as a Giant fan. And you could tell, once Eli's gone, I'm not sure what's going to happen in that locker room, but for years now, there's been no true leader, nobody that you could really look at to say, hey, you know what? They the one that the guys in the locker room are listening to. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, I don't. Teams don't have to have a vocal leader. It's nice if you have one. It's nice if you have a Messier type guy. Eli's always been a lead by example guy. He's not been a rah-rah guy. He's always been a guy, though. It's always been a teammate, humble, coachable. So that's how he's led. He's led by showing up and playing every day. Some teams have leaders, vocal leaders. Some teams don't. Not every team has to have it, but the guy, to me, that has to lead the football team is the head coach. That's his job. The head coach in the NFL has a very simple two-pronged job. You've heard me say it a million times, but it's always apropos, and that is get him to play hard and give him a plan they can win with. That is it. That's the job. The first part, remember, deals with leadership, deals with motivation. Get your team to play hard. Not every team plays hard. Not every team is focused. And then you want to believe that the plan that if you execute it, if you're a player, you have to believe in that plan, that you execute this plan and we will win. That the plan is there and is proper. Those are the two jobs of the head coach. Mark and Brick, what's up, Mark?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good, what's happening?
It was really cool to hear you on ESPN yesterday. That was a great tear yesterday.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah.
But what I don't understand is this. How can all these analysts, professional analysts, ex-players, make some of the statements that they're making, such as, the losing seasons, the QBR, all these things about Eli, when those aspects, those stats are not 100% on Eli. When people drop passes, your QBR rating goes down. Or as if like the last 5 of the 6 seasons that were bad or whatever are 100% on Eli Manning.
It's ridiculous. If they don't watch the games, they're going to look at. If you try to analyze a quarterback's play basically just from the numbers, you're worthless, completely worthless. You have to watch them play. You have to see the duress he's under. You have to see what he's around them. Eli has shown you a million times that if you give him a nucleus, he can run it, he can lead it, and the bigger the game, the better he plays. He's good in a 2-minute drill, and he's good in big games. Last year, they went to Green Bay for a playoff game. Eli threw the ball better than he had at any point in the whole season. Made great throw after great throw in that game. Played well in that game. His team let him down. He was ready for that playoff game just like he's been ready for every playoff game. Except the first one when he wasn't ready and the team wasn't ready when they got embarrassed by Carolina early in his career. But that was just a baptism under fire. But worrying about, look at this, they're losing games. Well, Drew Brees is coming off 3 straight years of having 6 wins, so we don't blame him for that? Of course not. It wasn't all Drew Brees' fault. Drew Brees was ready to play. The team fell apart around him. Same thing with Eli Manning. Eli Manning has not had an offensive line. He has not had a running game. He has had no play-action game. Plus, you can also make the case that this system has not fit him. It does not play to his strengths. And still, if you look in recent years, the numbers, they're not all worldly, but he plays in the Northeast, which you got to take into account, and they're still solid numbers. I mean, if you look, you go back the last couple of years, you're seeing, 25 to 30 touchdown passes. You're seeing, some interceptions. You're seeing 3,500 to 4,000 yards, whatever it is. Yardage and stuff like that with the NFL players with quarterbacks is worthless. The two things, if you look at, you're not learning anything about the quarterback, is yardage or completion percentage. That is worthless. Guys can dink and dunk the ball to the back all day, if they want to. That's not what the Giants do. It's not what Eli does. And you know what? Show me the guy that can make every throw. Show me the guy that can run the 2-minute drill. And show me the guy that can drive his team in the fourth quarter from behind to the lead. We've seen Lee Manning do that his whole career. That's it. And I can tell you right now, if a guy asks me, do I think Eli Manning can still play? I say absolutely. He's a young 36 going on 37, and he's got a lot of life in his arm. I don't think there's any problem. I think he has gotten happy feet. I think he has started to play a little chuck and duck too much, where he's just, he's backing up and throwing the ball because he doesn't want to get creamed again. I think that's happened to him. I think he's gotten into some bad habits. I think he's done a bad job in certain ways because of that. But the bottom line is, if you put the team around him and give him an offensive line and give him some weapons, he'll take you where you need to go. And that's what you want the quarterback to do. Can the quarterback take me where I need to go if I put the people around them? And the answer is absolutely he can. Steve in Kingston, what's up, Steve?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, what's happening?
A couple of things. I want to ask you about a name for the general manager for the Giants. But first, I want to ask you something. Why did the Giants hierarchy even need to make this big announcement? Why couldn't they just let it play out with Eli quarterbacking if they really want to still play to win? They're not going to win a lot of these last games anyway, so why not start Eli? And then if the game gets out of hand, which it's got a good chance of doing, just make a substitution as if it was, that was part of the protocol. Why did they need to make this big announcement of they're going to do this? And they could have done it with just a meeting of Reese and McAdoo saying, listen, if we get behind by 3 touchdowns out in Oakland, we're going to put Geno in or put Davis in. Why did they have to go to this big announcement of benching and that? And I want your opinion on that. And then a name I want to throw at you for general manager is Gettleman from Carolina.
Another guy who's obviously got roots wouldn't be my first choice. But there was no easy way to get him out of the game, especially if he was not going to like this idea of leaving the games. But the whole muddled message they sent made no sense. And it just shows you how dysfunctional they are right now. Because this whole thing, the volcano erupted because McAdoo said that Geno Smith gave the Giants a better chance to win. That's when the volcano blew. That was what caused the eruption, because that is ridiculous. And that was the message that he was not supposed to send, because that was not what they were trying to send. They were trying to say, we need to look at these other quarterbacks so that we know the decision to make on draft day. That's what they're saying. And that particularly leads to Webb. And it's not about Geno Smith. Geno Smith's got a resume already. We know who he is. They need to see the other kid. And that's really should have been, and he should have been ready for this week. But again, it shows you how dysfunctional they are. They didn't even get him ready. Paul in Pompton Plains. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good. What's happening?
Mike, I was wondering what you thought about the opponent that they got going. The Raider defense with the secondary is pretty horrible. And I wonder if the timing was, if they kept Eli in there and he torched them for 300 yards and threw 4 touchdowns, it would be harder to take him out.
Fair point. Listen,
and I was wondering
this is a game where they should have success throwing the ball. You're
exactly.
Now, listen, the one thing is that Raiders do have a pass rush. You still
But it
got to
hasn't
block
been very
them.
good. Mac hasn't been getting very
No,
many
he doesn't, but they do have people who can rush the quarterback. Now, you're right. This is a game where the quarterback should put up some yardage and should be able to throw the ball because the Raiders have been very easy to throw on all year. So you're absolutely right, and maybe you're right about that. Maybe they felt, whoa, if we wait a week, Eli will light up the Raiders and we can't sit him down. You know what? You might be right about that, Paul. That's a fair point. That could be true. Might be why they did it. You know, plus they might have wanted to do it on the road rather than do it at home. That might be another reason. But, yeah, clearly, listen, folks, nobody is saying that against a Raider team that has played terrible pass defense all year, that Geno Smith might not go out and throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes. He might. That doesn't have anything. Eli Manning could have gone out and thrown 4. First of all, the Giants got to prove they can stop the Raiders, which they're not going to be able to do. Secondly, no one's saying the Giants might not score. Now, they never score 30, so I don't know why we think they'd score 30 even against the Raiders. But why? The fact is he might play well for a week. That's possible. But we know what Geno Smith is. He's never going to give you a better chance to win than Eli Manning does. We know that. So your point of trying to sit him down, it would have been harder once he'd had another big game. I guess that's true. But, it's going to be hard to sit him down anytime because of the streak and because of who he was. Here's the Make Man.